All right now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying. And a warm welcome now to our final speaker for today, Dr. Nicole Gruel.
Hi.
No applause?
Hello.
Come on.
Hi, Sydney.
There we are. Now, Nicole, you're going to talk about all sorts of wonderful things, but you are a psychologist. You're a doctor of psychology. Now, I have a member of my family who's a doctor of psychology, but she is not spiritual. And I wonder how many psychologists are spiritual or would listen to what you're going to talk about, or do they sort of still live in the past?
Well, I actually am not a psychologist.
You're not? It says on my notes you are.
I did a PhD in transpersonal psychology, and I spent 2 days doing a traditional psychology degree, and I decided I did not want to walk that pathway. So it took me 2 days to figure out that wasn't the way, probably because I didn't quite resonate with the way that things are done in the classic psychology room.
Well, I think that says volumes. Because, we won't go into that.
No, it's another conversation for another day.
Another conversation for another day. Well, I'm glad we cleared that up. Now, you're going to be talking about spiritual transformation and enlightenment and what happens after that. So that's very important, because how many people do you find now are either undergoing, open to, or ready for spiritual transformation?
Well, there are so many people going through their experiences, and that's exactly what this talk will be about. People want the experience, people look towards the experience, or people aren't even looking and have the experience, but no one really talks about what happens then, what's next, and it's quite hairy sometimes.
Oh, yeah. But does the world need spiritual transformation?
I believe so.
So do I. Very much.
Yes, very much.
There's so much going on at the moment. I think the lack of spirituality is a real problem.
I've come to believe that these experiences happen to us for a reason.
Oh,
and that it's not only personal, it's collective. There are greater reasons.
Totally.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think you have a lot to talk about, so thank you very much for staying. I think you'll find this absolutely enlightening and hopefully, in some cases, transformative. Okay?
Thank you, Barry.
Just hold it all, everybody. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be here in Sydney. I hope you've been having an amazing event. Who has been here? Who are the hardcore people that have been here since this morning? Yeah, well done. How has your day been? Show of hands for yes, this has just been incredible. I've had some great experiences. Wonderful. Are you coming back tomorrow for more? Wow, look at you guys. This is great. So I love that. These are transformative events in themselves, which is wonderful. Often we come to these events and we think, I'm going to learn something new and maybe meet some people. And I find the richness that comes from these events is when something actually happens. You know, you feel activated in some way, or that perfect moment happens with that perfect conversation, or you just get that next piece in the puzzle. Do you know what I mean? Am I in the right room? Yeah, okay, I'm seeing the nods. Awesome. So what we're going to be talking about today is the art of living awake. And I'll share a little bit of my own story. This is really not much about me, but it's important that you understand why I talk about what I talk about. So I'll share a little bit about this and the experiences that, snapped me into a different way of being. And what happens, and I've worked with hundreds of people who have gone through really profound experiences, some of them beautiful, some of them amazing, and some of them really challenging. And that is the nature of transformation, right? We don't actually know what we're going to get in life's box of chocolates. So let's jump on in. Thank you. So I don't know about you, but often the path to spiritual awakening, the one that you see in the glossy brochures, the travel brochures, is like, gain enlightenment, sit on top of that mountain, go have your ayahuasca retreat somewhere and you'll be open to all new portals and whatever it is, right? The brochure looks really, really nice. And that's fantastic. The reality is, though, and I'm sure by many of you sitting in this room, that it's a bit like a washing machine that we go through. And I see the nods already. There's a bit of a tumble that can happen through these experiences. And often we end up looking a little bit rough on the other end of this, right? So the travel brochure didn't quite detail everything that we need to go to and we need to go through. And that's absolutely okay. So I'm going to get your permission here to fasten your seatbelts and come on in for a bit of a talk, because this is not going to be all about enlightenment. This is not going to be all peaches and cream and the road is very pretty. This is going to be a bit of a real talk in terms of what can happen through these experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, as well as the absolutely amazing that comes out of the other end, and why these experiences happen and why it's important that we go through these things, and why do we have them? Why do these things even happen, right? So, do I have your permission, by the way, to buckle those belts in and off we go and get a bit real here? Fantastic. So, I want to share with you first a little moment that happened pretty much to the day 8 years ago. I was birthing my eldest daughter, who has popped in this evening, and I had a vision of this exact moment when I would be back on a stage talking with people in an event like this, and sharing about these experiences where I was sitting in a room with amazing people who are getting activated in their own way, doing their own beautiful work in the world. And this vision came through a birthing experience. I've just come out of another birthing experience. I have a little newborn. But this 8 years ago birthing experience was yet another one where I saw the light amidst the chaos of the birthing room, and it was an emergency cesarean, so it was all a bit crazy. They had me on the gas and I was doing the Darth Vader, taking in that gas. And through all of that chaos in the room, I broke into the horizon of light, and I knew in that moment that either my child or myself would not make it through that experience. And I said to my partner exactly that, and then I said, and it's going to be okay. And what you might find through some of these experiences too is you have those moments where, as absurd and sometimes painful and crazy as the experience may feel, you also have a deeper knowing that everything's going to be okay. You got to trust, you got to surrender, you have to release to the experience. Good news is everybody made it through that experience. I was wrong about what happened, but it was a surrender and trust learning experience. Yeah. And so that brought me to this moment, which was absolutely beautiful to know, full circle, that we were going to be here in this room at this time. And this is the beautiful thing about these experiences, right? We get insights about what's going to happen somewhere on the road. So you get to be part of my special experience. So thank you very much for doing that and bringing it full circle. That same horizon of light I did actually see several years earlier as a teenager when I had my first near-death experience. So that was this exact waterfall in New Zealand. Have we got any Kiwis in the room at all? No? So this is a beautiful waterfall that has a 10-metre fall. And we went down, the boat flipped, I went down underwater, and being a swimmer, I had a swimmer's response. I put my arms out to swim. But you don't do that when you have a 10-metre waterfall above you, because what that does is push you down lower. So I went down into black water, and I knew in that moment that I was taking my last breath. I was on my last breath. And I had one moment of sheer panic, and then I had absolute calm. And in that calm opened that same horizon of light that had come. Right? So this is a place, yeah? And I'm sure I'd like you to tap into your own experiences when you have these. When you've gone through something like this, is it a place that you can go to, like very much a journey when you take a plane and you go to India or you do whatever you do and you go on this crazy wild experience, almost as real as that you're going to another place and a location where you can tap into these experiences, the feelings and the states that come. So this was that experience that set me on a path to exploring the extraordinary when I was about 16 years old. I had my own near-death experience, my father died, and I had several other family members within 6 months where we had a whole bunch of death experiences. And that opened me to a certain type of life, asking certain types of questions. And so that's been my journey for decades as I walk through with different people and I understand with the people what has been the extraordinary experience in your life, right? And what has that tapped into and opened up for you? And don't we live in interesting times, right? Where the last 4 or 5 years, the world as we know it has literally flipped on its head. Things that we thought were certain are not. Security in life is not certain all of a sudden. And what has also happened that has been fascinating is a lot of people's paradigms have completely broken down during this time. The world as we have known it for many has actually changed, right? A lot of people in the past 5 years woke up in many different ways. A lot of people have had a different type of experience. Now, it could be a political awakening, it could be a spiritual awakening, it could be a financial awakening. All of these transformative experiences have taken place. And I don't know about you, I don't know when your experiences have been going on. Maybe you've had some what would we call them, top-up experiences in the past few years, or maybe you know some people who have really snapped up and opened and awakened to different ways of being in the past few years. This is what can happen in the beautiful relationship between our outer environment, our outer world, and our inner worlds. And again, often on the spiritual journey, people get so wrapped up in talking about the inner, right? Everything's the inner world and the inner experience. But we have to understand that we're in like a symbiotic relationship with our environment. We affect it, it affects us, right? So the world turned upside down, and a lot of people turned upside down along with that and had some awakenings. For some, that triggered a real dark night of the soul. For some, it was like, hallelujah, the world has woken up, everybody's waking up now, this is fantastic. And I can see by some of the smiles and the nods in the audience who sits in what camp of that. For some people, it was a combination. It's been in and out of the dark night, and I don't know what my life is doing, and all these people are changing, and everything's going crazy. And others, it's like, wow, this is the best thing that has ever happened, right? So which path did you choose over the past few years? What has been happening for you? And maybe you've actually been on your path for much, much longer. Maybe you took that red pill a very long time ago. And I have met a lot of people who have been in celebration mode in the past 4 or 5 years saying, thank goodness everyone's catching up now. Now we have a bigger party going on, right? Now we can really get on with it. So as you know, this is actually where the adventure begins, right? People might have their experiences, chase their experiences. A lot of people, as you would know, get wrapped up and caught in, I want that kind of spiritual experience. And that's great. Do that, go on the path that is most aligned to you. But what then, right? What then? The awakening, the opening, this is the beginning of our transformation. We turn to mush and now the butterfly, and it's like, where does the butterfly go? Now what do you want to do? How do you want to live your life? So really interestingly, the altered states economy, and we can talk about this as not just altered states, but different states of consciousness. This is a booming economy right now. And I'm not just talking about your classic healers and artists, the people that we know in our like-minded communities that go down this road. We're talking about elite performance athletes, Navy SEALs, right? Elite organizations, CEOs. There are people at the top level in the world, in their areas of expertise, who are also looking into what is beyond our human experience. How can we tap into our peak states? How can we live from our peak states? How can we tap into that which is even beyond that and live from those as well? So big business. And this leads to the question, are we actually becoming supernormal? Is this a time where we, as a species on this planet, we are ready? We are going through our collective activation now. The term supernormal came about in the 70s, and it refers to, expanded states of consciousness, but really integrating that in more of a normal human way. And so I think this is a beautiful question. Are we at that point now where more and more people are simply living from that place? And if so, great. What does the world look like collectively then, if this is what we can do? Now, I've also found that as we go out on the journey of awakening and beyond, that a map is really, really helpful. So I'm going to share with you a map that over many years I've kind of put together in some simple... Does anyone else like things really short and simple? And yeah, okay, me too. And visual. So here we go. I hope it's not too small for you to read, but I'll read it out. Stage 1 is about integration. Integrating your spiritual experiences by identifying your experiences. What actually happened to me? This is the stage where for many people, this is the beginning stage, and it's like, WTF, what was that? Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Am I going nuts? Right? These questions come into the mind. And hopefully we have some people around us that say, no, you've just been through something really profound. But others will have nobody around them that understands, and they will feel like they're going crazy because society, this is why I'm not a traditional field person, psychology and other fields as we know it don't necessarily, they do have a category for it now, but they don't necessarily honour these types of experiences, right? So people can truly feel like they're going crazy when they have this. So identifying the experiences, what actually happened to me, is super important. Grounding the after effects of these experiences, right? All kinds of interesting phenomena happen to us as an energetic being, as an energetic body, after we have these experiences. It's like someone turns on this major on switch. And if we have no idea what has happened to us, it can really get a bit wild there. Okay, and mapping out your journey. So let's look at integration a little bit. These are some of the things that can happen, and let me see a show of hands. Has anyone experienced this afterwards? Heightened sensitivities, like you walk past a light post and the light post just decides to turn on, right? Things like this. I had a lady that I was working with, and because we do a lot of computer stuff, we all went online. She couldn't talk on a computer without having her feet in a pit of sand because the computer would just malfunction. She was just so buzzy with energy, right? So heightened sensitivities. I see some hands. Awesome. Spontaneous states of non-ordinary consciousness. You just pull out a Mufasa moment, like I've just got to, I just got to be in that thing, right? It's almost like getting back into homeostasis, right? You get back into your zone. And perhaps these states even come on without you asking conscious permission, right? It just kind of happens to you. Increased flow states. Has anyone experienced this, where it's like everything just seems to be working in harmony? Everything in your brain state is going well. And flow is when we are also in our zone of genius. So there's a little bit of challenge involved in it. It's not too easy. And we're also quite functional in that state as well. So this is why people tap in after awakening experiences into things like their creativity. People get really interested in musical instruments and painting and, alternative body movement and things like this, right? Because they're tapping into a flow state now. What is this beautiful thing that is operating here? How is it working with the rest of my system? Yeah, really beautiful to explore. Awakening symptoms. So, hands up if anyone's had some of these. These can be a whole array of different things that modern medicine has no answer for, right? And yet you know that something very real is going on with you. And these can come and these can go. And there's a whole array, I won't go into them, but there's really a whole array of different types of awakening symptoms that can happen. But literally you're feeling like the pits a lot of the time. And you're thinking, hey, that brochure said that this awakening thing was going to be absolutely amazing. Why do I feel this way, right? So again, we can start to ask these questions of what's going on and even feel something is wrong. Is there something wrong with me? Maslow, I believe it was, would say, no, this is actually a beautiful sign that you are making good progress as a human being as you awaken to greater states of consciousness. So just hang in there and get through it, and you'll be even better out the other end. Many people experience homesickness, and I put home there because it's like home feeling like the big home. And this is a classic one with people who might have had a near-death experience where they have gone to a place that felt more home than they have ever been. Is there anyone that can relate with that feeling of homesickness? Yep, absolutely. Beautiful. And this, I find, I've worked with a lot of people with this too, can be really, it's very real and it's very challenging because what happens when you're homesick for a place that you can't go back to, right? And so some people in the spiritual world can get caught in wanting to try and recreate the moment and get back to that place. Where was that place in that state that I visited? Some do it successfully, but unfortunately, if you reach that through a near-death experience, it's probably not something you want to try and recreate anyway. So stage 2, after we've had some integration, now we want to get into alignment. So this is about aligning with your superpowers, right? What are your superpowers? What are the gifts that naturally move through you that you are here to activate and share with other people? So aligning with your superpowers through knowing your divine design and your gifts, right? Again, I'm not going to go into all of this. This was my PhD research, but for me, and there's many models, I'm not going to say this is the model. This is one that made a lot of sense for me. I'm sure in your own exploration you've made, sense of other models too. With this, I found Jungian psychology Very, very helpful. So Jung actually talks about 8 different types of like psycho-spiritual structure. And we talk about that as our personality. And here's the interesting thing that I found through this research. Your personality, and you'll hear this a lot in the spiritual world, right? Who's heard of like annihilate your ego or get over your ego, or you must kind of quell the ego? I actually found the opposite. So I found that from a Jungian point of view, your ego is your seat of consciousness and how you operate in the world. It helps us make sense of information. It helps us understand and process things that happen, make decisions, and then take steps and take actions in the world. So this is actually a very helpful tool, and maybe our definitions of ego are a little bit different. This is the one I work with. So that structure that we have, I have found through deep interviews with many people, a qualitative research, that these bits of our personality actually, it's like they meet 2.0 version of themselves after the experience. They get heightened, they get refined, they mature. So things, for example, is the visionary gift. Maybe people, beforehand, they would see the visions, they understand the symbols and the signs and the connections, but after some awakening experiences, their ability to do that is heightened much more, right? And same with all of these gifts. So it's not to say that there's a certain type of personality that is a spiritually awake person, or even to say there's a certain type of personality that is more prone to have these experiences. From the research, it's anyone goes. You can be introverted, you can be extroverted, you can be a very practical thinking person, you can be highly artistic, you can be super analytical, right? You don't have to fit a box of what being spiritual is meant to look like. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things that has that came out of the research and that can be had about this conversation is you get to be authentically you. Right? You really don't need to fit into anybody's box or image of what a so-called awakened person might look like. You actually get to activate the 2.0, even the 3.0, 4.0 version of yourself as you go through these experiences, because we do keep evolving. So after we've integrated, we've found our superpowers and we've aligned, now we move into stage 3 of amplifying those experiences. So this is when now you understand your zone of genius a bit. You amplify from that place. How do I live my life from this space? Yeah? How do I carry forward now with these gifts, now that I understand the types of gifts that I have, so that I can serve in the world? So what becomes a priority at this stage usually is taking care of yourself, health and wellness. Because when we're in the earlier stages of the spiritual experiences, we can lose track of earth life, right? We can become very discombobulated. I have a girlfriend that went through one of these not long ago. She was super corporate, and then she had this big awakening experience, and she literally could not go to work for 2 weeks. She couldn't handle the conversations there. She couldn't function. So what happens after we've gone through those rough parts is we start to now calm down, get used to our gifts a little bit, understand ourselves better, and we start to prioritize things like the vehicle that we're in, my health, my wellness, not just on the physical. I'm talking about social wellness too. Who's my tribe? Who is around me? Who's in my ear? Who is impacting me? Our financial wellness. We in the spiritual community do not talk about this, and this is a huge one we need to talk about. I love talking about this because without the financial piece in the puzzle, how do we get on there in the world and actually have the impact we want to have, right? It takes resources in this world, in this reality that we live in. If you want to play the game in this matrix, you have to learn to play the game, right? And so physical resources, financial resources are a really important part of that, especially with activated, awake people who are often on a sense of mission and purpose, who often, they don't want to be materialistic and about the money, but they do want to do things like start a movement, write a book, open a retreat center, do all of these incredible things, right? And again, those things take the resources. So prioritizing our health and wellness. We might become a little bit weirder. Has anyone experienced this, where all of a sudden you turn around, you look at yourself a bit down the road, you're like, oh, I look a bit different now. Or maybe you see people from high school and they're like, who is that? Is that really her? Is that really him? right? We become a little bit weirder along the way, but in a most beautiful way. And that's okay because our friends become weirder with us. We find our tribe, we align with people who have like energy, like vibration, right? And it can be painful in the beginning, right? Has anyone experienced that where in the beginning there's big transformations and all of a sudden you look around and you're like, these are not my people anymore. I can't go to the pub on a Friday and just have drinks with everyone. I don't relate. Yeah, I'm seeing some big waves on that, right? And that can be a really lonely phase. I get it. And it's okay, because if we just carry on, if we go through those other stages, we get to find our people who are just as weird and wonderful as us. And that's a beautiful thing. And then the fourth stage is now to inspire. Now that we've really grounded all of that, what do you do with this, right? These experiences, I truly believe, do not happen only personally, even though they have the most innate wisdom in them, don't they? These experiences feel so deeply personal. They're so unique to every single one of us. And yet, there's something greater, there's a nugget of wisdom that has been brought through you to share with other people. And so as you become more you, feel free to do you as you do in the world, then we start to understand better and better what it is I'm actually here to do, right? It's like who's around us and the universe starts to communicate back a sense of purpose as well, right? And this is how we also get to grow now. Be an agent of awesome, I like to call these people, right? Because you're an agent, you're active. This is not a passive piece. After you've been through your integration, you're not in passive mode. You're not sitting on a mountain in your solo retreat anymore. You are very active. You're in the world. You're doing things. You're doing the work because you understand that you've come to planet Earth on this crazy, wild time and that everybody has something to give at this point. The cosmos made love over billions of years just to create you, right? Just breathe that in. Feel that. There is no one else out there with your exact unique configuration at this exact time. And even if you have a doppelganger somewhere else, I bet they're up to different kind of work, right? So this is it. This is the time. You are the vehicle. This is the construct that you've been given. Like it or loathe it, this is the construct that you've been given. So you have to journey with your own construct. You have to understand your own flow states, your own divine template, your own programming. The more you fight this programming, the more you fight what was gifted to you, then the more challenge there will be. But the more you can truly sink into it and just say, okay, how is this a gift? How is this useful to me? Even if no one sees it or understands this aspect of me. And again, this can be a challenge because in our modern world, we love to classify things, don't we? We love to give names and labels to things, right? All kinds of labels. If anyone pulled out the DSM, which is the book that they use in the psychiatrist's office to give you all of those names and labels, I bet you every single one of us here could find a good list of them. We can all find ourselves within that booklet, right? But this is how we operate. We love to just put ourselves in the boxes so that we can function in the world. So the invitation is to really understand and honour yourself and love yourself beyond the boxes, right? To know that the boxes are a human creation anyway, because we are all needed at this time. Regardless of the shape and the pattern that you came in with, we're all needed, right? And so no one can activate your gifts except you. No one can understand why this time, this place that you've chosen, or maybe go choose somewhere else. If this place isn't working for you, get active, make a choice, make the change, right? Don't get stuck in, I don't know, I can't do it. No, it's like, just make a decision, right? Life is so short. Life is so short, so fleeting. My beautiful Japanese grandmother, I have my Japanese mum in the audience, and my Japanese grandmother comes from a long line of samurai. And she said to me when I was very little, do what you can while you can, because there will come a day where you cannot do that thing anymore, right? And this came from a very wise woman, from a very long lineage. this time when we can move our bodies and be active and speak and think and function, right? A blink of a second in universe time, in cosmos, but we have it. So how are we going to use it? And if you look at any of the wisdom traditions, any of the great masters, any of the big awakened ones, and if you were to go to them on their mountaintop or even out in the field, wherever they would be, and you would say, what is the ultimate goal? Why am I here? What is the ultimate goal of this awakening journey? What all of these wisdom paths will tell you is to integrate your experiences and be here fully in the world. It's about being that active agent. Yeah, not checking out from the process, but actually being here as fully as you can. So, that's a wrap for me. There are some wellness gift packs that are going up for grabs. You get a one-to-one power hour with me, so you can scan the QR code and pop in your details, and then I will follow up with you on that. And you can come and visit us in the booth. I will be there all of tomorrow for those hardcore ones that are here for the full experience. Come and have a chat, because I love hearing about people's experiences and where you're at and what's going on for you. I'm also here to share about the products that have made a difference in my life as well and in my own integration journey, and get some signed books. So, I can turn this off now. You can turn that off. Thank you. That's a wrap from me, and I'm here for questions. I love the conversation piece. If there's questions you have, if there's something you want to share, then this is that discussion time. So I will open it up to you on the floor. I know a lot of people get shy at this point. Thank you. Yes. Sure. So the question was, what was the PhD about? So it was in transpersonal psychology, which is AKA spiritual psychology. And so it's really learning about the different wisdom traditions. It's learning about different altered states of consciousness, learning about how we talk about these experiences, how we categorize them. Yeah, that type of thing. Yeah, it was amazing. I was so happy to find out that this existed. It doesn't exist in Australia. No, it wasn't here. So this was over in California at the home of transpersonal psychology, where Maslow and the other ones who... This is an interesting point, actually. So you would all know from psychology there's positive psychology, and they kind of went to, what is the best of our human experience, right? That's kind of where psychology sits at. But a lot of those founding fathers had these transformational experiences. So Maslow actually had a near-death experience in the last year of his life. And not many people know that. They know all about his triangle. Everyone likes to talk about the pyramid. But Maslow actually corrected his own pyramid in the final year of his life after having one of these experiences, right? He turned his own triangle on its head to say, no, you don't actually have to fulfill your safety needs, your security needs, the lower base things that happen on there in order to get to these things. He had this experience that popped him open, that awakened him to different states of being, where he understood that actually these are very important and these can become the foundation. So it's almost as though it's reversing the whole thing, that these awakening experiences can become our very foundation from which we operate and then grow and create our lives. So I mentioned Maslow because he was one of the founding people of transpersonal psychology, and he and others, they would go to the spa out at Esalen, this beautiful place where there's hot springs that come up, and they would meet there every year, and from this came transpersonal psychology. They created a psychology through the understanding and desire to explore their own awakening experiences. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
But what if, how do you find your purpose in your path if you don't have near-death experiences? How do you stay on that path?
Absolutely. Beautiful question. So how do you stay on your path if you don't have something like a near-death experience? So be careful what you wish for, because you really don't want to have a near-death experience, and you don't have to have a near-death experience to be open to these different states of being. So you can think of it like what am I trying to say? like a spectrum, right, of severity, where a near-death experience, and they've become very popular now, so we all know, the classic things about them, they sit on the extreme end, yeah? But there's this entire spectrum of awakening experiences, and there's many different categories along those lines as well. Some of them can be like in meditation and a slow burn, kind of like coffee percolating, just drip, 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 very gently over time, right? And over years, there's just more of an awakening and an unraveling of, oh, who am I? This is who I am. I feel more comfortable in my being. So along this spectrum, you'll find different types of experiences there. So basically, we as humans have available to us a whole array, even things like falling in love, right? Falling in love is a non-ordinary state of consciousness. What happens when we fall in love? Those are my earrings. What's that? Exactly. Reality is gone. Time doesn't exist. Bombs could go off and the world still feels okay, right? I just had a newborn baby. What's that like? Again, bliss bubble, right? The world doesn't exist. I'm happy to be in this place because the world feels perfect in this. I've suspended time, right? I feel timeless right now. I feel eternal right now. We can have that from falling in love. That is a non-ordinary state of consciousness right there, right? So we as humans have such a different variety of experiences and opportunities available to us to open us into greater states of who we actually are. That's all the game is really about. It's greater states of who we are. There's no magic pill, right? There's no magic place to end up either. It seems as though what this game of awakening is a further peeling of the onion, an opening and opening and opening and opening, always to more of who we are. As simple as that. Yeah. Beautiful questions, thank you. Yeah. Anyone else have any questions? Yeah.
But just like, when you mentioned about in the wink of an eye, that to me was very interesting because I attended a class of regression where the message that I got was in the wink of an eye. I think that we often keep chasing what is our purpose and looking on the outside, and the more we keep looking for what is our purpose, we actually are not living our purpose, because living our purpose is every second of our life. So this is my take on today, and also how life can just go in a wink of a second. It's like, we have to be in the present now, live our life now. This is us, like, as in finding our purpose rather than chasing. Like when the near-death experience question was asked, I too was one of those people, damn, I think I need to have a near-death experience in order to get what the hell am I supposed to be doing? But the thing is, we miss the point, in our presence, and then just enjoy every second of our lives, every moment, living our life to the fullest. That is us fulfilling our purpose. So that's pretty much the confirmation that I got for today. And so when you brought that up, because that was the unique message I've got, it's like in the wink of an eye, so it just shows that we have to, every second is precious. That's what we need to know. Every second of our life is precious.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that takeaway. I hope the others were able to hear that. That was really, really lovely. And I'd love to hear other takeaways as well. And you're absolutely right. We can, and I relate with that feeling of chasing a sense of purpose. And, wanting to wake up one day and have the universe have it written on a big sign, this is your purpose, go out and fulfill this mission, right? I get that completely, because I spent years as well with that exact same feeling. And that can happen with these experiences, again, because we get activated in a certain way. And we're like, oh, life is really meaningful and I've got to be doing something, and maybe I want to be of service and I want to do something profound. And so we feel it. And then we can get caught in that trap of, I have to find the perfect it. If I only had that clear mission, then I'd know what path to walk forward. And for some people, they're lucky and they get that, right? Some people have the heavens open revelation moment and they know exactly what they're here to do on this planet. Good for them. That's not the vast majority of people. Most of us are fumbling around. And Another thing that happens is when you stay present to what's actually happening through you, as you beautifully said in this moment, and you realize that your purpose can come to you that way. You can be purposeful just by being you, right? You can navigate your life that way and find that, you know how we talked about version 2.0, 3.0, we evolve, right? So even if you catch on to that thing that you think, this is my perfect purpose, this is what I'm here to do, then you can get into problem when the version 2.0 or 3.0 of you comes and you're like, oh, but that was my purpose. Like, oh, and now I'm feeling called to do these other things and I have to shift and, you know, so, and then we become a bit, we have a problem now and a bit of a face-off with our own evolution because now we've created a construct around ourselves. And we didn't talk in this about the spiritual ego and the spiritual identity, but this is one of the things that can certainly happen on the journey of integration as well. We can get caught up in this is now my new spiritual identity, right? And that can become a trap in itself because, again, we've locked in to not evolving. And so guess what's going to happen? The universe is likely to come knocking at our door, kicking our butt and saying, time to shift, right? And we get yet another rude awakening or yet another moment that completely makes us fall apart and question things yet again. And I think that's healthy. I actually think that's it's hard. It's very hard, but I think it's healthy for our growth because, again, when we go through the cycle, once again, we come out the other end with the ability to walk other people through it. And again, there's the gift. Yeah. So purpose can absolutely come to you in any minute. Yeah. Thank you. Any other takeaways or things you want to share or questions? That was really nice. Okay. Then I guess it's a wrap. Phil, oh, sorry, did you put your hand up? No? Okay. So, yeah, stop by. I'll be in the stall, B6, all of tomorrow. I'd love to hear your stories and have a chat. And thank you very much for being here. Have a great event, guys.